program. And I'm looking forward to celebrating the accomplishments of a large group of high school students who took on a big additional extracurricular activity this year, which is conducting their own scientific experiment. This is normally a very challenging thing to add into a high school schedule, and more so this year. So we're so proud of students for sticking it out and studying something they're passionate about and being a part of this really special long-running program at the high school. Now, for those of you that have been part of our program before, you probably know that today is usually a loud and crowded and busy fun day in the library where we have students sharing out the results of their projects. We have families and community members coming in. And it's always my favorite day of the year. And I always am exhausted by this point, but so inspired by all the great work that's happened. And even though we can't see the student work in the same way this year, I wanted to give you a chance to get a sense of some of the really interesting topics that students took on this year and the really creative ways that they came up with to share their results with judges. So you can see just a few snapshots of some of the projects that students submitted. They were asked to come up with a 5-minute video to share with our team of volunteer judges. And you can see that this was such a wonderful way of students to study something they're passionate about. And it felt like a very good representation of kind of where we are in 2020 this year. We had a project who studied something about sourdough bread, which I think a lot of us can relate to after this spring. We had a student who did a project on trying to increase running speed, and he was inspired by a program he started this summer where he was trying to come up with safe activities for kids to do when they were stuck at home with a different type of summer. We also had students that took on some of the big challenges that I think a lot of us are wrestling with on our daily lives and thinking about the future of our communities, whether that be how we're going to deal with some big questions with climate change. We had students thinking about racial bias and the way that impacts things like technology and artificial intelligence. And most of all, I think our most common topic were students who tackled questions relating to medical situations that have impacted their family and their friends. And so I think something that I've really thought a lot about this year is when things feel a little overwhelming or discouraging, and I think that's happened to all of us a little bit this year, when I want to feel inspired, I always just go back to my Science First students and think about this is the future of our science community. These are the students who are going to tackle these problems and do so with creativity and perseverance and an attitude that there's no challenge too big that they can't take on. And so I really want to have that be the message for tonight, which is now more than ever, science is so important in our world. And we are so proud of the students who are already showing the way that they can use all of these wonderful skills that they've acquired through their families and their great schooling and their summer opportunities and use it to try and make the world a little bit better every single day. And so thank you for inspiring me and giving me something to look forward to this year and for sharing out your results with our community. So before we get into the awards, I just want to do a few quick thank yous. Running a program this large takes a real village and takes so many people behind the scenes that help make this happen. So first and foremost, thank you for the students who stuck with us this year and rolled with the punches when things were changing on a daily basis. And for the families who this year more than ever really had to kind of bring the science home. We had students working with fruit flies and planaria worms and growing algae in their basements. And so thank you for your kitchen tables and your guest rooms and all the things that you were able to give to us so that your students could really dive into something they were excited about studying. I'd also like to thank the science department. So many people with wonderful expertise who donate their time, especially our mentors, our department head, Jen Smith, and Trisha Noblett, Charlotte Shire, and Connor Zanini, who work closely with our students throughout the program and have been such a wonderful group of mentors to work with. We also couldn't do this without Mr. Bishop and Dr. Kavanaugh and the entire admin team who really value STEM education. And I think you can tell how much they value that by the way that they make sure this program is something that we can run every year. They're here tonight to help celebrate, and they're always checking in to see how things are going and are so excited about what our students do. So thank you to our administration. And then thanks to HCAM for helping us publicize our results tonight. And lastly, but most important probably, is the HPTA. Hopkinton has one of the largest programs in the entire state. And the only reason we can do that is because the HPTA is such a generous sponsor of our program. We had 64 students do projects this year, and they brought home supplies. So the HPTA helped us make so every kid could bring home a bin with really cool equipment and materials to work with, regardless of their own financial situation. And so we're so grateful for the support of families in town who give it to the HPTA and for making this a priority every year. So thank you so much. And I think Mr. Bishop wanted to say a few words as well.
I did. Thank you, Ms. Murphy, and great introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Evan Bishop, the principal here at the high school, and thank you for allowing me to say a few really brief words. I think Ms. Murphy covered them. We probably should have coordinated ahead of time because I'm going to be saying a lot of the same things. But I do just want to first off congratulate the over 60 amazingly talented students who participated in the science fair this year and have dedicated just countless hours on their projects. And of course, Ms. Murphy, she is just an incredible educator and a great leader of this program. We couldn't ask for a better person to run our science fair. So I want to thank her, as well as the other mentors, Ms. Noblette, Mr. Zanini, Ms. Shire, and our SML, Ms. Smith. They do a tremendous job. I know Ms. Murphy mentioned it, but the HPTA is wonderful and continues to support us, not only with the science fair, but in so many ways. So we want to thank them for their continued support. HCAM, always covering these amazing events. I want to thank Jim Cousins and the HCAM crew. And for our judges, for their support, their time, and their help, we want to thank you so much. Now, I know Ms. Murphy mentioned it, but it's also a day and a ceremony that I always look forward to as well. And it's one of my favorite days in the calendar at HHS. It's typically, like she said, we're in the library. We're able to walk around, talk to the students, listen to the students present, and really just marvel at their projects. You know, I think it highlights tremendous dedication, creativity, authentic learning, and of course, the passion that our students have. And while this is different, obviously a lot of things are different right now, it is no less impressive. And I remember this past summer, I met with Ms. Smith and Ms. Murphy, and we talked about the science fair. And are we going to be able to do it this year? And if you remember back in August, there was a lot of things that we were uncertain how that was going to play out. And I remember Ms. Murphy saying, if we have the right protocols in place, we have amazing kids, I think we can do this. And boy, was she right. These kids are just so resilient through this incredibly tough year. And I'm sure these projects were really a nice distraction through all the challenges. And I think now more than ever, putting an emphasis, as Ms. Murphy mentioned, and focusing our attention on science and inquiry and research and participating in opportunities like this and allowing our students to explore their world, seek solutions to real world problems, and take the time to analyze how things work is just so important. There's so many aspects of the science fair that I love. Students having a voice and choice and a little autonomy in their learning needs to happen more often in education. And I think it's a really great opportunity for them to do that. I like how the projects are a little bit longer in duration, and in some ways a lot longer in duration than many other assignments that the students have throughout the course of their high school career. So they can really dive in and roll their sleeves up. And it involves much more than just science, even though science is in the title. You talk about collaboration and teamwork. We have 64 students with 35 projects, right? You talk about the writing and the presenting and the critical thinking skills that are just part of what we like to call the vision of our graduate. And they're all on display, not only tonight, but throughout the course of this year. So I'll just wrap up really quick. Yeah, I know that some projects will be recognized in some way, shape, or form tonight, and maybe not others. And I just want everybody to know how incredible and how I think everyone is winners in my book. You should all be proud of your work. I know your parents are. I know Ms. Murphy is, the mentors, and the administration as well. You have no doubt taken away so many valuable skills throughout this process that will help you in the future. So again, congratulations. Thank you for spending the time and doing this work. I can't wait to see the rest of this presentation, and best of luck, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. We have an exciting new opportunity related to Science Fair this year too, and I'm going to invite Jen Smith, who is the Science SML or Subject Matter Leader, to introduce what this new exciting opportunity is. So, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mrs. Murphy. Last spring, Archita and Shrija won the distinction of the first place Sanofi Genzyme Award for their project at the 2020 Massachusetts Science and Engineering Fair. A portion of this award consisted of a $10,000 grant to the Hopkinton Science Department. Part of our plan is to utilize some of these funds as a scholarship for students to continue their pursuit of science education. We are happy to announce that this year we are providing a scholarship for Hopkinton High School students to utilize during the summer of 2021. The scholarship can help fund program costs, tuition, or other expenses aligned with the pursuit of additional science education. Mrs. Murphy is excited to share more details about this opportunity with you soon. You can look for also some additional information in the student memo. I would like to congratulate Archita and Shreja for their prestigious award. You should be very proud of what you have been able to accomplish. Your hard work and your dedication on your project is going to have a lasting impact on Hopkinton High School for many years to come. I would also like to congratulate all of the students that are here today for the hard work on their projects, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Great. And congratulations. I feel like this was one of the many things that kind of may have been overlooked slightly last spring with what an amazing honor this is. And so we're so glad to be able to honor them moving forward and keep their work inspiring the next group of scientific thinkers at Hopkinton High School. The next group that I'd like to recognize are our seniors. We have a group of 12 students who are senior members of our science fair program. Most of these students have actually conducted a project every year or 3 of their 4 years at Hopkinton High School. And this is a huge undertaking even for 1 year. And to do it all 4 years is really just so impressive and shows such dedication to scientific research and the pursuit of new and interesting ideas. And I think if any of my if any of my colleagues are on this call right now, I think most of us would probably look at this group and say like, wow, that is a group of like a powerhouse group of young women. This is a group that not only are incredible scientific thinkers, but they are, many of them are captains of their sports teams, leaders of mock trial, lead many of our community service clubs in orchestra and band and dance. A really just talented, hardworking, very, very committed group of students who I feel so lucky to have gotten to know over the past couple of years. Many of them were also groups that I took on as mentees during their freshman year or started the same year I did at the science fair. And so this group will always have a special place in my heart when I think about what really made me love this program. It's getting to know students and getting to know what they're excited about learning about and seeing the way that they really troubleshooted and figured things out and grew as scientists and students and role models during their time at Hopkinton. And so congratulations on a wonderful 4 years. You are going to leave very big shoes to fill for students in the future. We're really going to miss this group. And I just wanted to do a special recognition for 3 students in particular. I wanted to just recognize Fariha, Alana, and Elisa, who are students who came to me a few years ago when they made it to regionals and said, Miss Murphy, this is really fun, but we'd really like this to feel more like a team. And so I loved that idea of, can we kind of all become a group that cheers each other on and goes to states and is all kind of in this together? And I think the first event that was canceled in my life last year for COVID was our first science fair Spagger dinner that we had planned for the night before regionals last March that Fariha put together and was really excited about. And so I feel sad that they weren't able to make that happen, but know that we'll be thinking of you during our first Spagger next year when we're able to gather and think about science as a collaborative effort. So thank you for kind of taking us to the next level, both with great projects, but also with that team mentality that is so important for science and research. Our first award of the night is called the Valerie Latansky Prize for Perseverance. Valerie Latansky is a longtime Hopkinton High School chemistry teacher who retired a few years ago and was also the founder of our science fair program. For those of you that know Val, you know that she completely embodies this idea of perseverance. There is no challenge too big for her to take on, no task that is too complicated for her to figure out a way to make it work. She is hardworking and creative, and most importantly, she always has a can-do attitude. She leads with such perseverance and such grit, and she has been a real inspiration for me in both my science experience, but also as a teacher. And we are so honored to have her as part of our program. And I still email her all the time. I'll say, I have a question about this project, and she'll get back to me, as many of you know, in 10 minutes with 15 ideas that we could do. She is just a endless supply of creativity and energy and enthusiasm for science fair projects. And so each year we try and recognize a team who embodies this idea of what can't we overcome, and we can do this as long as we have that upbeat attitude and that creativity. And this year there were so many teams that embodied this. I think in 2020 everyone kind of had to take on this idea a little bit more, but one team that really stood out goes to a group who was actually doing their first science fair project. So congratulations, our award this year goes to Ishii and Prachi for environmental effects of long-term memory consolidation and Drosophila. Sorry, I always get that one wrong. Just Drosophila, or fruit flies, which is an easier way to say it, but doesn't sound as impressive in your title. And I remember in the fall meeting with these students and talking to them about these really bold, exciting ideas they have. And I kind of felt like a bad news bear. I kept saying, I don't think we can do that at home. And that seems really complicated. And they would come back the next day with a new idea and a new way to fix it. And finally, they got to this really cool project involving training fruit flies and giving them scented reward systems. And they needed this piece of equipment that's really hard to get outside of a fancy lab. And I said, girls, I just don't think we can do it this year. We can't go to a lab with all of our COVID restrictions. And they said, okay, we're just going to build it. And in that moment, I was like, well, that's what Val would say, right? That's what Mrs. L would do. She would say, well, then I'm just going to build this system. And that's what they did. And so I'm so proud of them and think this is a perfect award for them this year. So congratulations. I know we can't all be there to cheer, but I'm cheering for you from my point of view over here. And congratulations, Ichi and Prachi. And now we're going to get into our top 3 awards for the fair. The HBTA generously sponsors a cash prize for all of these teams. And we also have trophies, which we will deliver to you tomorrow. As Mr. Bishop alluded to, not every team is going to get an award tonight, although so many teams are deserving and have done great work. I think something that really stands out every year as well is that Hopkinton's own school fair is almost as competitive as like some of the regional and state fairs across the country. We have so many teams that do incredible work. And so we would love to give everyone recognition tonight, but these projects really stood out from our panel of judges. So judges viewed a 5-minute video. They also looked at a slideshow and a project notebook. And this was the most competitive top 3 prizes that I can remember in program history. It was a really, really tight race, and we're so proud to honor our top 3 projects. So in third place, actually slightly unusual this year, but third place came out to a mathematical tie. So we are excited to offer 2 students the third place award this year, 2 wonderful projects. And these awards go to a project by Simran Kaur, Phytodrugs, a novel approach on a planaria model of multiple sclerosis. So congratulations to Simran. And then also Mantra Rajkumar with automatic urinalysis system. So congratulations to these 2 wonderful projects. As you can see, they had wonderful presentations, really creative approaches involving 3D printing and moving worms that they were graphing as they regenerated, and just a really creative, thoughtful projects that they were able to do at home this year. So congratulations. Our second place prize actually goes to a student who's doing their first high school fair. It's one of our freshmen, so we're very excited to honor Eva Bennett, who did a project on the development of an innovative alternative model for teratogenicity testing. So congratulations to Eva. She took on a really bold topic from home, did a wonderful job, and such a great presentation. And as I mentioned, only a 9th grader. So congratulations, Eva. That's a really huge honor this year. And finally, our first place award goes to a team who's doing their second year of science fair. They took on a project that has huge importance for as we think about climate and the economy and situations that are changing as our world adapts. And so we're so proud of them coming up with a really creative and bold project. This goes to Brian, Barat, and Neil, whose project was designing the modern truck. So congratulations to our first place prize. And I believe Neil is on the call. I think the whole team is here, but Neil is going to say a few words to tell us a little bit more about their project.
Yeah, so, well, when we started the project, obviously, we were all quarantined and everything. And so we knew, right, there was going to be a lot of different challenges this year. So finding a project, we were lucky enough that like 3D modeling was one of our skills. And so that's how we settled upon a project where we could do everything on our computers and through 3D modeling with online testing. And And we found what we did was basically we researched, we made a design, and it was like classic design process. We made something, it failed. Then we went back to the drawing board. We found out what went wrong. We found out where we could go better. We did some research. We expanded our knowledge on the topic. We made our next design, and we failed again. We did the same thing. Maybe we failed again, and then we kept getting better like that. We did a lot of research. We all really expanded our knowledge a lot. And, you know, this year really tested our teamwork skills. But overall, yeah, it was a great experience for us.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing, Neil. And that's definitely something in the comments, and we'll share out the judge comments with each student team this week. But something that came up in all of the feedback for this group was what great collaboration skills they have. You can tell that they really are all involved in the project. All are so thoughtful about each step of the design, and that you can tell you not only work really well with each other, but really like working together. And that really comes through in your presentation. So congratulations to Brian, Barat, and Neil for a wonderful first place prize this year. Congratulations. So this is just the first step in many science fair opportunities for our students this spring. Hopkinton is part of the regional fair at WPI that goes on in the beginning of March. And so we're able to send 12 teams to this regional fair. And as many of you know who have been involved in the past, oftentimes the order of prizes gets all mixed up at the regional fair. And so we send a very strong contingent with the hopes that lots of these teams end up winning cash prizes, winning some interesting scholarship and extracurricular opportunities, and then also moving on to the state fair, which will be at, well, it'll be virtual, they'll all be virtual, but at MIT, hosted by MIT in May. And so I wanted to announce all top 12 teams that will be moving on to regionals. And so those 4 top teams that I already mentioned are 4 of our regional qualifiers. And then I will reveal the next group too. This is in no particular order, but I wanted to recognize each project. And I also think it's so nice to see what some of the topics were. Like we mentioned at the beginning, students really do choose topics that they feel passionately about and pick something that they're excited to learn more about. And I think it's so interesting to see kind of the range of things that teenagers are caring about these days and the way they're able to tackle those complicated topics. And so congratulations to Shrija Bola for determining the pressure of cerebral spinal fluid using a non-invasive optical biosensor. And congratulations also to Ishi and Prachi for the environmental effects of long-term memory consolidation. So congratulations to those projects on being regional qualifiers. The next group, the next 3, goes to Sahithi Pagula for the in silico inhibition of the Cas9 CRISPR. That you might have heard about last year was actually Nobel Prize winning topic. So really amazing work being done by high school science students in Hopkinton this year. We also have a project by Kai Samant for finding an effective deep learning algorithm for chest disease detection. And also by Archita Nemalakanti for development of a non-invasive optical biosensor diagnosing neonatal hemoglobinopathies. So congratulations. Lastly, we have 3 additional projects that will be going on to regionals. We also have Vania Gottman, mathematical modeling to determine underlying variability in CDC COVID-19 guidelines adherence. Congratulations. The effect of EDTA on calcium deposits in arteries by Faria Fardin. And lastly, we have a team that we are sending to regionals, Avni, Brianna, and Tomo for furthering mass detection technology. So congratulations to those 12 teams. I'm sure we're all cheering you on from home this year. That is quite the strong group of projects moving on to regionals. And like Mr. Bishop mentioned, even if your name is not on this screen right now for moving on to regionals, we are so proud of you for doing a project this year and for putting so much time and effort and creativity into your topic. The judge comments that they shared with us are just across the board. I cannot believe this is a high schooler. This was so thoughtful. This was such a great idea. I've never thought of it doing it this way. We really can't emphasize enough how much pride we take in the students that go on to do these projects. And we hope that you feel like you learned something from this experience. Maybe like Neil mentioned, maybe that was mostly how things can go wrong in science, which is a really important lesson as well. And that we hope many of you will come back to join us again next year to do another project and continue to grow as a scientist and learner. And we look forward to another great year next year in Science Fair. Before we wrap up, I think Dr. Kavanaugh is going to share a few words.
Thank you, Kristen. Yes, I just wanted to say a few things. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to attend this event. As many people have already said, that experience of walking through the Hopkinton High School library and being able to interact with all of these student scientists and asking them questions, I am not going to fib, it's intellectually daunting on that day. And I have to give Ms. Murphy a lot of credit because I don't know that I could have pronounced half of the words in those titles. So, and if I can't pronounce them, I surely do not know them. So congratulations to you all. I want to echo the same thanks expressed by Mr. Bishop and Ms. Murphy. What you see here tonight really is evidence that it takes a village. You know, so for all of this to happen, there are so many people working at so many levels, and it really makes sort of the magic happen. A few years ago, when I first came to Hopkinton and Mrs. Latansky was still running the science fair, she kind of gave me the history of science fair. And back in the day when she began, she probably had 2 or 3 kids that she pulled along and kind of got them to a place where they were excited about this. And after so many years, and now with the baton having been handed to Ms. Murphy, you can really see that we have probably, you know, the best program in the entire state of Massachusetts. It's amazing what we're doing here in Hopkinton. And I have to thank Ms. Murphy for that, because when she introduced herself tonight, she defined herself as the person who helps run the science fair program. And I think that that is absolute understatement. She does so much more than that and puts countless hours in. And it's not just about the time, but it's about the passion. And I think her passion has really become all of your passion. So I hope that all of the students involved in this will give a little shout out to Ms. Murphy tonight. And now I want to address the students. I am marvelously proud of all of you. Your projects reflect your ability to identify some kind of societal or human need. You spend countless hours working on them. You weave in all kinds of other learning, critical thinking, reading, writing, presentation, mathematics. You learn the skills of perseverance, resilience, tenacity. As our student speaker said, you experience failure, you experience success. And truly, the 60 of you are part of the Hopkinton legacy of science excellence. So thank you, congratulations, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kavanaugh. We really appreciate it. Great. So that takes us to the end of our science fair program. I am going to ask if there's any students on the call who are part of our regional qualifying team, if you would be willing to stay on for a few minutes so I can just give you a couple important pieces of information that came out from the state today. If you're not here or you're watching on HCAM, I will send this out in an email, so that's okay. And I just want to thank, again, the students and families for joining us tonight and so many members of our community. This is such a special day, and we look forward to hopefully celebrating next year in the library again. But in the meantime, congratulations on a wonderful year, and thank you so much for your work this year. Thanks, everyone.